Had a good summer? Had a good break from clinical life? Feeling nice and refreshed? Great, let's get back to work. I'm Dr. Cass Spencer-Smith at Private Practice Ninja, and today we're going to have a bit of a back to school boot camp. We're going to be talking about mindset, money and motivation. Do you want to have a thriving practice by Christmas? So don't meander back to clinic, get your jetpack on and let's get productive. Number 1, mindset. Do you remember when you were a kid going back to school? The summer holidays stretched out forever. You were desperate to get back to see your mates, to share your adventures and show them all your stuff. But it's very different, isn't it, when we're adults and we go back to work, which is ridiculous because we should be excited about our practices. So rather than being British and having a ho-ho moan, oh, it feels like I've never been away, why not change your attitude? You're simply getting it wrong when you go back. We often cram in too many patients in that first week and we set unrealistic expectations about getting up to speed. Instead of your usual behaviour, I want you to take a leaf out of the athlete's book and channel that feeling of frustration into one of energy. So rather than drifting back and being apathetic, oh, I'm so tired, I don't want to be working today, think about how many patients can I get into clinic? What new things am I going to do to grow my clinic and become commander of your ship? To be commander of your ship, you need to make a plan and set sail to go somewhere. And I want you to use the time when you're first back in your practice to reflect on how you're potentially wasting time and money. There are only 3 things you should be doing as your role in private practice: seeing the patients, being the visionary for your practice, and marketing your practice. So if it's a little bit quiet when you first go back to work, I want you to sit down and think, where am I potentially wasting effort? So if you're doing any of these, you need to stop doing them. The first thing is dealing with general patient admin queries. So you might have an email from a patient saying, are you free on Thursday to see me? Neither should you be typing your notes or typing your clinic letters. You shouldn't be sending out invoices. You shouldn't be sending out reminders to embassies to pay you. But the funny thing is, we'd rather do those sorts of activities sometimes than what we feel is awkward, which is kind of marketing ourselves, which is ridiculous. Any spare moment of your time should be used for marketing alone and definitely not admin. Why is that? Because your billable hour is worth so much more than it is a medical administrator's. Number 2, money. It's incredible, isn't it, how we're willing to do the work. We work the long hours in clinic, we see the patients, we answer their pesky emails, we sort their stuff out. And sometimes we're in danger of actually leaving those rewards from doing that work on the table. You might not think that happens, but reflect on how potentially leaky your invoicing system could be. If you're not using a professional company, you're probably going to find you're losing money in a couple of ways. The first is that not all insurers work the same way. So different insurers will allow you to bill for one procedure in one way, and don't assume that they're all the same. So you might be losing out potentially because you're not using someone who has those specific skills. The second issue around it is if you don't outsource to a company where they separate out the billing from the other admin tasks, are that you're leaving the billing to potentially be bottom of the list. Your medical administrator needs to look after patients, and the last thing potentially they can get round to doing is sorting out that invoicing and chasing people up, because there's always someone on the phone. So outsource it to a professional. When it comes to self-funding patients, they can be a little bit naughty sometimes, can't they? Most of our patients are lovely and they're going to want to pay you on the day, and they'll practically pester you as they're leaving the room saying, how do I pay now, doc? But sometimes patients have this little habit of drifting away from their previous address or where they saw you in clinic last time. They don't show up the next time and you don't get to collect from them. That's a problem. And so you need to make sure that you capture those kind of payments. So you could either do this up front, and actually I've taken to doing this in my practice just because it makes it so much easier for my secretary. We've never had any problems the way that it's been managed. Or if that feels uncomfortable to you, then what you can do is have a little arrangement with your billing company that says, I'm going to phone you at clinic on Thursday and you're going to contact these patients, boom, 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 who've been in today, and collect payment from them. There are electronic online ways you can collect payments from patients, such as WorldPay, but just don't leave it weeks because they're probably going to leave the country. Once you've shored up your leaky revenue bucket, it's time to turn up the tap. Now's a great time to reflect on what you're actually earning in private practice. Yes, we do it because we love medicine. Yes, we do it because we love patients. But we're also here to make a living to look after ourselves and our family. There are simple ways to increase your revenue, and one of the simplest ways is, get your head around this, is to raise your prices. It's not that difficult, and many of you, I think, will be undercharging. If you've ever been coached by me, the first thing I encourage you to do is raise your prices. And when you reflect on this, it can make a substantial difference in a moment or two. So for example, let's say you're a physiotherapist and you charge £85 for a first consultation that takes an hour, and then you're kind of charging £50 to £60 for a half-hour follow-up after that. If you see a patient first once for an initial and then 5 follow-ups, if you then increase that revenue by 20% by simply adding on £10 to £15, it makes a big difference to your bottom line. So don't hesitate to do this if you suspect you're probably undercharging. If you're feeling a bit awkward about it, I'll put a link to a blog below that tells you how to raise your prices without losing patients. If you've already increased your prices, and well done you, what other revenue streams could you bring in to kind of wrap around that niche that you work in? For instance, if you're an orthopaedic surgeon, it might make sense for you to potentially get a shockwave machine. Same goes for a physiotherapist, an osteopath, or even a podiatrist. They're not that expensive to buy or hire these days. But additionally, you can think about services that might not immediately be obvious to you that people are actually searching for. So if you're a respiratory physician, you could think about setting up a specialist athletes clinic, so you could look for patients who have exercise-induced asthma, do testing for them, or patients who might have laryngeal spasm. Once you wrap a sort of little bundle or package around that, put it on your website, people will come and book in. And finally, number 3, motivation. It's very easy to get started with a new exciting task, and when we get back to school, as it were, we often feel, great, here we go, I'm going to get stuck in. And it kind of gets to October and we're flagging at half-term time. What you need is a motivation buddy, someone who can help hold you accountable to the things you promised that you were going to do. So if you need a little help in that respect, get in touch. I'm at CSS at Private Practice Ninja, and I'll see you next time.